Hi, this is Scot McRoberts, Executive Director of Virginia Council of CEOs, and I'm having another CEO chat today with one of our members. Ron Carey is founder and CEO of Tilt Creative and Production. And Ron's joining us today from his home office like I am. And Ron, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your business?
Yeah, thanks for the time, Scott. It's good to be with you today. Tilt Creative and Production is a full service content creative company. We've got production in-house, creative services, so art and writing, as well as animation. And so we work with brands in terms of developing content for their social media, online, as well as television.
Terrific. A firm that you founded in early 2018 and has grown significantly since then, I know. But Ron, I really wanted to talk to you today. A post you put on LinkedIn yesterday, which really addressed the unrest and change in society that we're all struggling with right now, caused me to want to have a talk with you. Virginia Council of CEOs' mission is to connect CEOs for learning and growth. And we're not an advocacy organization. That's not in our role. However, we are a leadership organization and we're a learning organization. And my hope is that this conversation can create some learning and some awareness of how leaders may respond in these times today. I know all of us are struggling with how to address it, particularly those of us who are in the majority community. So you and I have talked about this a little bit. I think you have some great practical insights. So why don't you take it from there?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. The piece I wrote yesterday for LinkedIn and for Facebook really was driven more about just kind of the anxiety and frustration that I was feeling and also hearing, and not just from African Americans, but I think for citizens across the country. And so I really felt compelled to just sit down and kind of put those thoughts down onto paper to articulate the concerns I had, the frustrations I had, the anger, but also to think about and try and help other people understand what is this perspective? What is the frustration that so many in America have right now? But not only to just stop there at the level of frustration, to think about what's the path forward, right? What's the opportunity in terms of us thinking about as leaders, as Americans, as Virginians, thinking about how do we start to engage with one another and have a dialogue and start to solve problems together, and how do we start to make this work for everyone? Because quite frankly, right, no American wants to have that concern of I get stopped and I'm not quite sure how to handle the situation, or you're going through all of the variables of what could go wrong in a potential situation. So that's why I felt compelled to kind of write the document yesterday. And the response I've received back from a number of folks has been pretty powerful. I think a number of folks felt moved by the piece. I think as I think about this from a leader's perspective, and I think anyone who's founded a company, is running their business, it could be a two-person company, it could be 100-person company. But the fact of the matter is, we've got a number of our employees looking at us, and they're looking for guidance, and they're looking for insight, and they want to know where we stand on some things. And that may be a very uncomfortable position for a number of us to step into that haven't necessarily had to talk about those things in the past, right? Everyone's got feelings about a variety of these things, but many of us have been told that, right, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion. And yet our employees and our community need for us to be able to be authentic and to show empathy and compassion, and to be able to talk to especially our employees about kind of what's important to us, what are the values of our business, how are we going to support them, because quite frankly all of us have someone that's been impacted by the course of events that have played out over this year. So for me, that's a super important thing, because quite frankly, it's kind of like you can't even have people thinking about making whatever your product is or selling it or doing anything else if they don't feel like they've got some level of comfort, but if every time they step out, they've got that uncertainty, that's an anxiety that just comes with them. And quite frankly, we as leaders have an opportunity as much as possible to kind of figure out how do we provide you some comfort and some relief to know that you're coming to work in a place where there really is someone who cares about you and wants to support you.
Yeah, Ron, so I'm feeling like as a leader myself, that the option to say nothing is off the table. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm saying, Scott, because quite frankly, in saying nothing, right, we all, what's that saying, right, someone judges you within 30 seconds of meeting you, right? And so there's a preconceived idea that's already been developed. And in saying nothing sometimes, people start to create their own narratives about not just you, but about the business of kind of what you believe and what the business is about. And I think, quite frankly, some of those folks are hopeful that they're leaders, in this case, our business leaders, but that they're hopeful of getting that some purpose and some direction and trying to make sense of all that is going on around them. And if, quite frankly, we as leaders have the opportunity to bring a little bit of order through work and through our words to them, that will make a world of difference to them, just in terms of trying to make sense of what's going on around them.
So there's a lot of opportunity, unfortunately, to divide and to take sides in all the issues that are swirling around right now. Do you have any practical advice for leaders on how they communicate that avoids those traps and tries to align people with each other in the best sense?
Yeah, I think for me, what's really important, and I would encourage everyone to do this, which is try and start from the place, right? What is it that medical professionals have, this notion of doing no harm? And I think if you start from a place as a leader of saying, I'm trying to put something good into the world and I'm trying to be positive. It doesn't have to be divisive about whether you're a conservative or whether you're a liberal, right? At the end of the day, that's not going to help bring comfort to anyone. But start from a place of the most simple and basic thing, which is empathy, right? Because more than anything else, empathy, not sympathy. Many of your employees, particularly your employees that, people of color, Black, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, et cetera, they're not looking for sympathy, right? What they want is to have empathy from their leader. They want to have someone who's trying to understand. Doesn't mean that you, as a Caucasian man, are going to completely understand everything about their journey in their life. But what it says is, I'm willing to sit back and listen to what you have to say, and I'm willing to try and figure out what you're saying to me and what might be the point of pain. How can I help you with that? And that is the starting point. It's not, I know what I'm saying is it's not complicated, and it sounds very simplistic. But if any of us as leaders start from a place of empathy and wanting to listen and hear, and sometimes the things that they're going to say to us may make us uncomfortable. It may be things that we haven't even talked about in our own families at home about, but the fact of the matter is, by listening and saying, I hear you, and acknowledge kind of the challenge, that challenges that you may be going through. I may not understand them completely, but I want you to know that I'm with you and that I support you. I think that it will unlock a door of communication that perhaps some of us as leaders have never experienced with some of our teams.
Outstanding. So I'm not a very imaginative guy, and I'm trying to think of, okay, what are the actual practical steps to doing that? Is that issuing a statement to my company? Is that convening a conversation? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little different for each leader, right? And when I wrote that piece yesterday, quite frankly, I was struck by I needed to articulate the words in a written form someplace, and I don't always do something that's incredibly personal on LinkedIn or Facebook, but I felt like that was the right vehicle for me. I tagged those in my company so that they could see kind of the message that I was putting out. But for someone else, they may feel much more comfortable in that being an individual conversations, or they may feel very comfortable about that being an all hands team meeting. And what I would encourage is find the right thing for you, and then make it authentic. It doesn't have to be the most eloquent. It shouldn't likely be a PowerPoint presentation. I think in some ways it's just sitting down and saying, I want to have a conversation with you, and I want you to know that I care about you, and I want to talk. And whatever form that needs to take, I'm willing to put the time in so we can have that conversation. And I think if you choose whatever the path is that works best for you, the dialogue will come. And don't be surprised if some of your employees are a bit guarded and surprised initially, because if this is something you've never done before, this will feel completely foreign to them, and it's going to take them a little bit of time to figure it out. But if you're a leader that is interested in seeing your business make progress, and you're interested in seeing your people grow and have some level of comfort, I think the rewards will be invaluable.
It's really helpful, Ron. I appreciate you taking the time to share your experience and your thoughts on this. I think it's practical and will be really helpful to others as it already has been to me. So thanks for joining me today.
Indeed. Glad to join you, Scott. Take care.